Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Tea Time with Teacup Entrepreneurs. I'm Steph Pellish, your Tea Time hostess, and I am so excited today to be joined by Elisa Heisman, who is a digital marketer and content creator who is very passionate about storytelling. And she is the owner of Red Pen Resources, where she does content creation, storytelling, writing, editing, brand management, internal and external communications, as well as messaging. And I can't wait for you to hear and learn more about Elisa. So, welcome, Elisa.
Thanks for having me, Steph.
You're very welcome. I'm excited that you have become a part of Teacup and that you're bringing your writing experience in. And so, tell us all the things. So let's actually start with Red Pen Resources. I know there's a little bit of a story here, so why don't you tell us how you got to Red Pen? I think it'll tell us a little bit about you.
Yep, absolutely. I love telling this story. So, my dad is a retired middle school teacher, and he would have a red pen either behind his ear or on his clipboard or always in his hand. And he would use it to make his students sound better. He didn't use it to criticize or to belittle anybody and the work that they put into something. He would look at it with a he would look at it kindly and knowing that they can do better and get that out of them, if
I
that
love
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah, I love it. I know growing up the red pen always meant you got something wrong.
Right. Right. This is not that. This is not that. And people ask me about the name all the time. And I love telling that story because my dad was such a beloved teacher.
Yeah.
And he just led with kindness and again wanting people to present themselves in the best way possible. So that is the philosophy behind the red pen.
I love it. So obviously your dad was a big role model for you, a big inspiration for you. Did you think that you wanted to become a teacher? Did you always want to become a writer? Like what was your transition or what was your journey into writing?
I actually went to Westchester to be a history teacher. So
Okay.
that's so funny. Yes, but I didn't like my education classes. I loved the history classes, and so I switched from an education major to a more of a liberal arts type of profile. So I took classes in political science, and I took classes in sociology and anthropology, and all different topics. And that led me to meeting somebody who worked on the school paper, and I wound up becoming an editor there. And I just decided to embrace the writer that I've always known myself to be. And
Love
it's
that.
pretty much gone from there.
Yeah, and would your dad bring his red pen to help encourage you or
For sure, for sure.
what? I don't know. Did you mention what he taught? What kind of
He taught
teacher?
social studies. So,
Okay.
yeah, so the apple doesn't fall far from the tree with that one.
I love it. I love it. And so, what kind of work did you go into out of college? Like, obviously, you didn't go into history
I,
teaching.
right. So I had a pretty varied career. I started out as a stringer for a local newspaper. So I went to meetings and I came back and reported on them. I worked on feature stories. I did that. I worked in a newsroom for about a year and a half, and that was really great training. But then I met my soon to be husband, and I realized that a schedule of being a newspaper reporter wasn't conducive to having a family. And I moved on to publishing.
Okay.
And then I did some nonprofit work, doing marketing and communications for nonprofits and some fundraising, all through a communications lens. And then a couple of years ago, I was working for Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, which is a fabulous organization.
Mhm.
And the pandemic hit, and they had to let some people furlough some of us. And that's really when I decided that I want to do this on my own. I have a lot to give. I have a lot of experience behind me. And between working for the newspaper and some businesses and nonprofits, I can help business leaders communicate their message. And so that this is sort of where I'm at in my journey now, and I'm loving it.
I love it because I think so many entrepreneurs, I don't know if it's more of a woman thing or if it crosses to men as well, but I can speak for a lot of the women in our community. We have a passion, and that passion leads us to starting a business. And then it's like, oh, now I have a business. Now,
Right.
and so I'm curious, like, was that kind of how your journey was? Like, oh, now I also have a business. Like, I thought I was just gonna write and do all of these creative editorial things, and
Yes.
now there's
Yes.
more.
No. I, as much as I felt like writing is my passion, I did not think I would be here open with my own business. But the more that I was in the workplace, I just I felt like I could keep doing more, keep contributing more, and not being allowed to. And so now, um, when I meet with clients, we talk about all the possibilities. We talk
Yeah.
about their website. We talk about their email marketing, their blog, if they want to start a blog. There's so much opportunity to get a story across and a message across. And working for somebody else, it was fine, but it was their agenda, which is perfectly fine. But I kind of wanted to make it back on the client. What are they looking for and how can I help them?
Yeah. Well, and I imagine too, maybe working in a business as large as Alex's Lemonade Stand, you may have only had one piece that you were working on.
Yes,
Whereas what you're talking about, you can work with like a small business and look at multiple pieces, the website, the blog, their about section, their LinkedIn, their newsletters. You can kind of cover all those places where they're telling the story. So there's continuity in
exactly.
voice, in messaging, and all of those things, which is so important. And so I'm curious, what is your process like to learn about a company and their messaging so that you can create that kind of messaging in their voice or with their brand?
So my process starts out with speaking with the expert, which is the client. They know their business so well,
Cheers
and
to that.
right, and I am here to learn about them. I'm here to learn about what they're trying to accomplish, how they want to serve others, how they impact people or other businesses. And we get into the nitty gritty details, like what are the things that you offer that is different, or whether it's an approach or a service. We try to nail down what is special about you, your business, your nonprofit that people need to know.
Yeah.
And so we have that whole long conversation. From there, I look at their website first, and I look to see if what they told me is what's reflected on the website. And if it's not, then we have a whole other conversation.
You know where to start.
And I love to work on websites first because I'm very big on doing long form content, which is the website copy, the stories, all of that feeds into emails, social media posts, video, all kinds of things. So once we match up their passion, their service, their expertise with what they're putting out there, it's a whole new ballgame.
Yeah, so you're really a collaborator with
Absolutely.
your client. You're learning about them, and do you generally do they generally give you the content and you kind of clean it up, or is part of your process creating new content for them? Like what does that
It's
piece
both.
look like
It's
to
both. So I have a client right now who doesn't have anything ready, any content. She's
Mhm.
starting a business, and she has a first draft, but really nothing out there yet. And
Right.
so for her, I'm going to go through it and give it the red pen treatment, where I look at it for grammar and spelling and flow. And then I look at it for content and make sure that it sounds like them. Um, so that's part of it. And I need to think for a second.
That's okay. And that's where I know too, like, it's so easy now to copy and paste into AI and AI
Yes.
spits something back at you. But then it's so standard and stiff. And it's like, well, you took out the words that I put in there, or you use sentences that I know I've seen in other people's
Right.
copy. And so I know, but I imagine with you, with that work, like you're really able, instead of cleaning it up and formalizing it, you're cleaning it up and bringing more clarity and alignment to their message.
Yes. Yes. So AI is a fabulous tool. There's so many great uses for it. I use it
Absolutely.
myself. But when it comes to talking about who you are and your business and how you can help others, you can only go so far on AI. You have to bring in your voice, your story, your why. And
Mhm.
AI may be able to do that someday, but that's not what it does now. It takes everything from the internet and it gives you a nice, neat, packaged um, paragraph or blurb.
Yeah, it's a little standardized.
Right. It
Like,
is.
yeah,
It is. But it's not, it doesn't sound like you.
right.
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 So whether I am, back to your other question, whether people are giving me the content they've already written or they want to create new content, it's a combination of both. We can go into, if they want to go into AI, we can certainly see what it generates,
Mhm.
but that's not the final draft. There's work to do on top of that to get to a point where this really sounds like that person, that business, that nonprofit. And
Yeah,
that's what we want to put out for the target audience.
love it. Who, when you think about like the perfect collaboration partner for you, like your perfect client, like what kind of work are they doing in the world that they need these kind of messaging or their website updated? Like who are they?
So my clients are split into two. The
Mhm.
first are service providers like movers, plumbers, electricians, doctors and lawyers, anybody that is serving the community.
Yeah.
The second part of it is nonprofit. From working at Alex's Lemonade Stand Foundation, there's so many amazing causes out there. And they have a mission and um, they have purpose, they have programs, but they don't always know how to communicate that.
Yeah.
And Alex's Lemonade Stand, for those who don't know, is to help cure childhood cancer and help the families that are impacted by childhood cancer. Um, they there are a lot of charities that do that. Why support Alex's Lemonade Stand? So what we want to try and do on the nonprofit side is elevate their mission, elevate their stories,
Right.
tell
Distinguish them
donors.
from the other foundations or corporations or
Right,
companies doing
right,
something similar.
right.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's kind of similar because it's like whether you're a business or a nonprofit, you want to tell people why they should come to you.
Right. Well, and I imagine too, you were talking about those service providers, and as we already mentioned, so many of us go into the business because we have this passion to do what we do. Those doctors are going into becoming a doctor because they want to work with their patients. Those plumbers want to go into the house and do their work. They don't want to sit at a computer and write
Right.
about what
Definitely
they're
not.
doing. They don't want to, that's not
Not
where
only
the
don't they want
creativity
to,
flows.
right, right. Not only don't they want to, but they probably haven't taken very many classes or read up on best practices or trends or any of that thing.
Yeah,
They
absolutely.
just want their website and their messaging to resonate.
Right.
And
They
so
want it
that's
to
what I
be
recommend.
functional. They want people to come and choose this plumber over another plumber or know why they should pick this lawyer versus another lawyer or what their things are. And so when you can kind of use your red pen to get that clarity and to get more specific, that's where
The
your
magic
message
happens.
comes.
Yep.
Yes, I love it. I love it. I'm I'm curious, like what are the most common writing or messaging mistakes that you see with
Mm.
some of the small businesses, whether you're working with them or you just see them online and you're like, oh, I wish people would know not to do this.
Mm. That is a really good question. I think that a common mistake is so a common mistake is when they don't talk about themselves. People are afraid to talk about themselves. They talk about the services they offer, which they absolutely should. They
Hmm.
talk about um, a lot of jargon, a
Yeah.
lot of a lot of terms that people they think people understand, but they really don't. So when they start using that kind of language that only another person in their industry would know,
Hmm.
um, that's where people tune out.
Absolutely.
And I think that if they start with who they are, what they do, but in a way that is going to resonate with who they're trying to reach out to.
Yeah, well, and that's where that relatability factor comes in because yes, you're hiring a company, but you're hiring a person. You're hiring someone to work with. And so when you get to know that person, in Teacup, we say it's about the woman behind the business. When you get to know the person behind the business, you want to support them, you want to use them. And so I love that answer. I know for me, sometimes I tend to then want to over explain myself. And so I
Yes.
might not be using the jargon, but I'm like, oh, and then, and then, and then, and then. And it's like, well, hold on, because sometimes the more you explain yourself, the less confident and the less clear it actually is.
Right. So that's the opposite. And that happens just as much. And so we want to rein that back in because the thing that I hear the most is that people don't read. And I don't think it's that people don't read. I think it's that they just don't have a big attention span. And so you have a certain 30 seconds maybe to get their attention. So you want to write and not go on and on. You want to write in a way that they get it the minute they read it and they want to talk to you. That's what I do.
Yeah. So make it kind of not just sound pretty, but actually convert them or get their attention and keep it so that they take an action.
Yes.
All right. If if that's something that I'm trying to figure out and trying to do on my own and I'm seeking out you for assistance, what's the difference between like having you proofread something or like copywriting versus like writing it for me? Like obviously those are all different things, but for someone like me where I'm like, I'm just going to give you the thing and then you're going to give it back to me. Like, is there a difference? Like how do I know what it is that I need
Right.
if I'm
So
doing my own writing?
that's a great question. So messaging really has to do with your brand and your voice and your tone and um your your message. I mean, really, like, what is it that you want to communicate to your people? That is the messaging is a big part. of brand. You know, there's logo, there's visual identity, and there you have to have content. And
Yeah.
so, how do you want to say what you want to say? That's the messaging piece. Copywriting actually comes from that because once we've established what your voice is, then we can take that and create these buckets of content. So we can say, okay, I'm just going to focus on this one topic, and I would copyright that. So, and then I would copyright another topic. So the copywriting piece is more focused, I think, about certain aspects of the business.
Okay.
And then proofreading is your basic spelling, grammar, punctuation. And I would add to that, this just doesn't sound right, or this doesn't make sense, you know, like let's fix this sentence structure or something like
It's
that.
like
So
reading my eighth graders' essays.
exactly. Yeah.
That's
Right.
what you're saying. Like,
Right.
well, I understand what you're trying to say, but you kind of missed the mark.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other piece of it that I think that is important is the storytelling piece of it. I'm passionate about storytelling, as you said earlier. And for businesses, storytelling is about the clients that who they've helped, how they've helped them, and and what they've done to make life better for them. So that can be a story. Also an origin story. Like I have an origin story about my dad and why
Mhm.
my business is called Red Pen Resources. People have stories behind the name.
Yeah.
Um, or behind the business or things they just want to share, and that just makes you more human. And I think that that's an important piece of it as well.
Yeah, definitely. Is there a way, like, how, so when you hear those stories and you're trying to pull them out, like, how do I know which version of the story or what part of the story is what's really going to resonate?
The best thing with the stories is you want to talk about what problem you solved and how you did it and what the end result was. I think that that's the most basic for businesses to tell that. If you can tell that in a paragraph or two, I think that, and add a testimonial to the end of it, or a quote from the client, or even a quote from the staff person that helped them out,
Yeah.
or the plumber that helped unclog the sink or whatever, so like I feel like it's the problem, the solution, the end result, and the human aspect becomes the testimonial.
Yeah. Is I imagine like with your work, you're working with all these different people, so you're learning about their stories. Like, is there a story that resonates with you more than like, or just sticks with you that you've kind of learned throughout, or one that kind of just has brought in a little bit more s- support's not the right word, but like gave you more direction to write your other stories or to help other brands tell their stories?
That's a good question. I think everybody has a great story. They have a great success story. They have a great origin story.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah,
we do,
we undervalue those stories.
we really do.
It's interesting that we're talking about this too because I do talk a lot about the origin of the name Teacup and how I was originally in a group called the Teacup Society, and we kind of disbanded after a while. And then after I went to a business retreat, I reached out to those teacup ladies and said, like, would anybody be interested in coming together again? And two of them did. And I was telling this story to someone just last week who's been in my community for a year now. And she's like, how have I never heard that story? I was like, yeah, like the reason that Teacup has the name, one, I do drink tea, I don't drink coffee, so it resonated with me, but is because we would bring our teacups on a Tuesday night and we would drink wine out of our teacups and we would talk about business and life and kids. We all had young kids at the time, but the whole thing was like, bring your teacup and bring a bottle of wine.
Love it.
Now we don't bring the wine, but we still drink our tea. But it's, for me, it's just something that is. And so I forget that there's value in that story. I forget that other people don't know that story. I forget that, people are like, oh, teacup, that's a great name. And I'm like, yeah, like I like tea. No, that's not really why
Oh,
teacup.
the story, the message behind that is the warmth and the support and the camaraderie. You have created through Teacup, and I'm so glad that I'm a part of it now. Um, you've created this community of women who come together, and that's exactly how they feel when they walk in. There's everybody's warm and friendly and supportive, and it all comes around drinking a cup of tea and having a conversation. And I just think that that's lovely
Yeah,
and
and
inviting.
thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
I'll take that one in.
there you go.
But yeah, I think, just what you did right there, where I kind of like shared the origin story, and you're like, yes, and here are all the components, why and how that shows up in your brand. I'm like, oh, yes, it does. And here's why. And so telling that story to someone who's never been to a teacup meeting or who is just learning about teacup, like, well, what is it? I don't know. It's
Right.
called teacup. Do we come and like taste tea? No. But so I do. I appreciate how you just kind of took us a little bit through your own
Right.
process on that.
Yeah.
If someone wanted to like maybe someone's origin story is not quite as interesting, how do you help them find the interest there? And I know you said everybody has a story, and we do, but what if I'm kind of like, no, I just like tea and like teacup entrepreneur is just kind of like sounded good, and so here we
Right.
are.
Right.
Well,
Um, one of
sometimes
the
I
things,
imagine you have to dig a little bit for
one of
more
the
of the
things,
story.
when I worked in the newsroom, I developed interview skills. So knowing how to get that story out of them is something that I offer. Yes, nobody ever thinks that their story is so great. It's like, I don't know, I just went into plumbing because it was the family business, but it was a family business. Like, tell me, did you hang out with your family and went on jobs with them and thought it was really like what was that like growing up in a family business? So there are questions that I can ask, that I do ask, to get to the heart of it, because um you want to share that with others. You do. You want to share that with others, and I think that just makes it all the more special.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like I got stuck a little bit on like where did the name come from? But it's also about like the origin of your business.
Mm-hmm.
Like there's a reason that you got into the actual business and started this work, or
Right.
you found your way somehow. And because of that, and because of that, and because of that, now you're where you are. And
Now you're
so
doing it. Somebody
there's a
must have
story
inspired
of,
you along the way, or mentored you, or lit a spark that you've decided that this is what you want to do.
yeah,
That's your origin story.
I love it. I love it. I'm gonna I know when we were redoing the website, we have like an about section, but I'm like, we don't really have like an origin story on there. I think we might go back and add a little bit of that back in. So, for someone who maybe owns a small business and is thinking about, oh, I want to update my story, what what does it look like to work with you? Like, is it a week-long process, month-long? Is it a continuous process? I'm sure there's everything in between, but what does it generally look like for you?
So it all depends, right? I think that the main thing is to get the story together and out there. And again, I would have a conversation with that person and get that story out of them and write it up. And then we would tweak it because it's not my story, it's your story.
Mhm.
So, we'll tweak it to however you want to present yourself. And from there, that could take, I would say that could take 2 weeks, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Um,
It's not just
and
the one day, here's my story, fix it,
right,
clean
it
it
could be
up.
here's my story, fix it, or interview me, and and we put together the story together, right?
Yeah.
Because I love to collaborate.
It's always good
Um,
to get back and forth.
and and from there, we could keep going with that story. It's like, okay, now I have my story. Now what do I do with it?
Yeah.
Then we talk about how you can keep talking, keep where you can show up and tell that story for people to find you.
Right. And that's where like the blogs and the
Right.
newsletter and the social media then come in because those
Exactly.
are like the the down pieces from that main
Right.
copy. And so if somebody was interested in working with you and learning about what it would look like to work with you, where can they find you?
They can find me at www.redpenresources.com.
Hmm.
And I am also very active on LinkedIn.
Okay.
And I would suggest that they look for my name, Elisa Heisman. I do have a Red Pen Resources business page that is in development right now. So reaching out to my profile, my professional profile, is the best way to find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. And we'll make sure that we link those in the comments so people can find them and learn about how to work with you and learn more about the services that you offer and all the amazing things that you do. But before we go, I have one more question, and this one's a little bit more of a selfish question for me because I would love to know what is your favorite part about being inside of Teacup Entrepreneurs?
Mm. So I have two favorite things. One is that I get to meet some really amazing people who are who want to help and also want to learn. And being in that space where it's not just about exchanging business cards, but really lifting us up in our work is just such a wonderful space to be in. And I also love the education pieces that you offer. I think that there are not enough groups that that offer the expert series that you have. I'm sorry if I'm getting the name of that wrong, but um, you have a lot of learning opportunities for us to take advantage of. And on top of that, once we learn it, you give us time to actually put it into action. So I could walk out of
You,
a
you can learn
workshop.
all the things, but you got to execute.
You got to execute it. And so I have not been to a co-working session yet, but I know that it's so valuable to not only provide the information, but also put it into place,
Yeah.
which is great.
Well, thank you for that. I appreciate that. And as I mentioned, we love having you as part of our community,
Thank
and
you.
we appreciate all the things that you bring in to Teacup as well with your knowledge and your shared expertise. And so I greatly appreciate having you today. Thank you for joining us,
Thank you
and
for having me.
make sure to join us next time on Teacup Tea Time with Teacup Entrepreneurs. Bye, everyone.